Good day, everyone. My name is Vin Maru from Financial Liberties, and I have a special guest today. It's Michael DiRienzo from the Silver Institute, and they provide a lot of great research. I came across him probably a year ago, and I've looked at some of the reports in the past, but I really wanted him to come on our show and discuss what the Silver Institute is and what they do, but more so, let's dive into the fundamentals of silver, what kind of research you guys are providing, and what you see
Mhm.
happening in the silver market, where the drivers are obviously central demand, central bank demand is one, investor, industrial, jewelry demand. There's a whole bunch of areas which is driving the silver market. Then maybe we can get into some of the issues in and around production, and finally where we think we're going to go with the silver price, given that it's about 42-ish right now. Will it hit $50, see a double top and retrace? Will it break past that, go to new highs? I want you to help us unpack it all, Michael.
All right, you got it.
So if you could take a few minutes, introduce yourself and the Silver Institute, then we'll dive right into it.
Sure. So my name is Michael DiRienzo. I'm the president and CEO of the Silver Institute. The institute itself began in 1971. It was incorporated in New York, and at the time, it was more of a technical outlet where they would just produce materials on silver's use in coinage, photography, and so forth. And over time, it developed into a market development association. We run on a rather small budget when you compare it to the World Gold Council or the World Platinum Investment Guild. So we're a different animal there. We've got about 30 plus members, most of whom are in the mining and refining sector. We have a lot of support for some of our flagship publications like the World Silver Survey, which many people think to be the industry standard in terms of yearly coverage on the global silver market. But what we do is we market everything silver. So whether it's silver's use in industry, jewelry, silver bullion trade flows, um, whatever it is, if it involves the silver industry, we're on it. And we put out publications like the World Silver Survey. We do a bi-monthly silver news. We do press releases throughout the year on the market itself. We have a few more reports we want to release this year. One will be on silver's use and growing use in the clean energy component. So that we look forward to getting that out in either late September or early October. And then again in November, we'll put out our outlook as where the silver market stands basis the April launch of the World Silver Survey. So we touch a lot of markets. We have programs in Mexico and India, in Singapore, and in China, where we speak at various conferences. We have colleagues there that give us information on those markets. We only have one office, though, so we're not like some of our other colleagues that have offices around the world. And that's mostly a budgetary issue, but nonetheless, we have wide coverage. So just this year, we spoke at events in Canada, in Mexico, in Singapore, in India, and later in the month of October, we'll be going to the LBMA event in Osaka, or Kyoto, I should say. And then from there, we'll go to the China International Silver Conference. And right before Thanksgiving, we'll be making some presentations at the Dubai Precious Metals Conference. So we try to spread the word of silver to a great wide audience. And of course, our website serves as a clearinghouse for all things silver.
Awesome. So it sounds like you guys are almost the authority on the silver market when it comes to publications, much like the Gold Council is on gold.
Yes,
Perfect. Well, let's dive right into the fundamentals for silver.
sure.
Obviously we've touched on a few key drivers of the silver market in
Mhm.
general. How about we touch on the biggest driver? Like, what is the biggest demand for silver? Is it investor demand, central bank demand, industrial demand? What's taking up the biggest bulk of the silver supply that's out there?
Yeah, it's industrial demand for sure. It's at about 60% of global demand, 59, 60%. goes into industry. And the big driver there, of course, is photovoltaics. Silver's used there, and solar panel, solar energy, electric vehicles, the infrastructure surrounding electric vehicles, the charging stations, and of course, electronics in general. I mean, silver is the best conductor of electricity.
Yeah.
It's even better than copper. And you be hard pressed to find an on-off switch on anything that doesn't contain some component of silver. But on the investment demand side, we're going to have a better year than we had last year. I mean, ETPs, ETFs, we had more go into those mechanisms through the end of June than all of 2024. So that has been a key driver. We're seeing a lot of silver being chewed up in these exchange traded products. India, ironically, is really picking up pace with respect to some of the new innovative ETPs they have on the market.
Okay.
The United States is doing well, the SLV, the PSLV in Canada. We're seeing a lot of activity there. In terms of investment demand on the physical side, Germany is coming back. United States is doing not that well. If you talk to dealers across the US, India is doing fine. China's picking up steam, but we don't think we're going to have a banner year for physical silver investment, at least here in the United States.
Let me ask you something. So you mentioned India as a big driver and then the SLV. I saw an article where I think it was one of the countries out of the Middle East, whether it's Saudi Arabia or UAE, and I think it was Saudi Arabia, took a significant position in the SLV just recently. So are you starting to see a lot more central bank or sovereign
Mm.
wealth funds come into the market?
We're-
And secondly, are other countries setting up similar vehicles for buying physical silver for their local nationals to buy into an ETF that's physical silver based?
Right. So, the PSLV, some people are arguing that what Saudi Arabia did, they didn't acquire physical silver. They basically have access to physical silver through the PSLV, right? Or the SLV. I believe it was the PSLV that they purchased.
Okay.
Nonetheless, countries like Russia announced late last year that they are looking at acquiring silver through its central bank, and there are some others as well. But as we stand here today, I have not seen any reports of physical silver being acquired by central banks as of this moment. But I can tell you, quite frankly, Vin, there are folks that are looking at it.
It's interesting. So I would assume that the buying we've seen in the gold market from central banks and the
Right.
biggest holder, their main holding is gold, and they're not really entertaining silver. But we still see investor demand from other areas in the silver market, and I think that really comes down to is it's a little cheaper, obviously, in terms of the price of
Hmm.
gold, but the gold to silver ratio. I mean, it's at a high that we haven't seen. I mean, it's been this high for a while, but there has been times where it's gotten down to 2015 even. And we'll get into whether we're going to see that later on, maybe in the discussion. But so we've covered the industrial demand, the investor demand. Obviously, I think the next big demand probably is jewelry market, and
Hmm.
maybe a supply would come from recycling. So, I mean, do you have any information or insights into those markets for us?
Yeah, that's about a 20% market when you lop in silverwares as well. So it shoots up about 20% of the global silver market on an annual basis. Jewelry in the United States is doing very well this year. Across the world, we're projecting about a 7 to 10% increase in jewelry demand. The same for silverware, maybe not quite as much, but nonetheless, it's a key component. When you look at countries like China and India, through the gifting process, gold and silver have traditionally been the gifts of choice for monumental occasions such as weddings and graduations and so forth. So we think that sector is going to do very well. the only thing that we think in the market that's going to be challenging this year is physical investment, the purchases of coins and bars. And some of that is price sensitivity. And there are other reasons as to tax structures in Europe, for example, VAT taxes in Germany, which could prevent or lessen the demand for physical silver and physical gold in that particular country. But globally, we're thinking the demand is going to be strong this year. We think industrial demand is going to either post a new record or just be slightly lower than what it was last year. But I mean, look at the demand, look at the silver price. I mean, the silver price is up 45% this year alone. Gold is up 40%. The ratio hit a high of about 104 or 105 last year. It's down around 85, 86. A lot of people pay close attention to the ratio, and they make some investment decisions based on that. But even at 86, it tells me that there's a lot of room to run for silver.
Yeah, I actually think so. I mean, it's they call it the poor man's gold, and you mentioned China and India. I was born in India, but I moved to Canada when I was very young, like 3 or 4
Okay.
years old. So, but I do know that there's this huge affinity to gold and silver, and you mentioned wedding season, and it's coming upon us right now in India. So there could be a bit of a driver, but I don't suspect that's going to be the main driver for silver prices increasing right now. So it's and interesting that we're at the price we're at right now, and it has the potential to go higher. And we'll get into the price towards the end of the interview because I wanted to kind of leave that to then. But I'd like to switch into some of the cost of mining, the mining industry for silver, the cost
Hmm.
production. I mean, it's now become very profitable, and we're starting to see a lot of the mining stocks. And that was kind of my area of expertise when I was covering the precious metal space over a decade ago. Was looking at the mining sector, and especially the juniors at that time, they had a great run. It's starting to pick
Yeah.
up now, but um, in particular, I live in Mexico. So Mexico is the number one producer of silver. I actually wish the central bank in Mexico would start restricting supply into the silver market and hold it themselves for treasury. So we get a bit of a rise in the silver price. But do you have insights? Let's go into, the overall general industry in terms of mining and the costs and where we're at right now. Do you see any growth happening in mining production, new mine supply coming on, or
So,
companies that are expanding, and
so,
then maybe focus into the silver market in Mexico?
so when you look at Mexico and you look at the global silver market from a mining perspective, let's face it, there are no new projects coming online. There's no major discovery in the last few years. We have what's known as a deficit in the market. Well, we have more demand for silver than we have mine supply coming to the market. Now, where that deficit is met is through the drawdown of above ground stocks. And in some cases, those stocks are really dwindling to, I don't want to say record lows, but really lows. For example, the LBMA, the COMEX, these stocks are dwindling, and that's basically due to the ETP demand. But all in sustaining cash costs for miners, it will be much lower this year, given the higher silver price. We're going to see Mexico will probably be the number one mining country, followed by China and then Peru. That rarely changes unless there's a significant development, like a strike at a major mine. But we don't see that happening right now, and it hasn't happened so far. So yes, the cost to produce an ounce of silver, um, while it rises from time to time, we think with the higher silver price, that number is going to come down lower. I mean, it costs a lot when you think about it to produce an ounce of silver. It's the mine itself, it's the labor, it's the energy, it's the commitment to the communities that surround these mining sites. But really, you look at labor and energy, those are two of the most significant costs at a particular mine. And it varies from mine to mine. It has to do with the regionality, has to do with the workforce and so forth. But like I mentioned earlier, the higher silver price should reduce the cost of production. And quite frankly, in the silver sector, their commitment to sustainability is quite strong. I mean, it's very hard to not have a deep commitment to sustainability in this sector and still be able to get funding if needed from banks, from governments, or so forth to continue a current project or to begin a new one. You know, here in the United States, uh, the silver has been listed as a critical mineral, and that is very significant for silver. It opens up a whole wide plethora of opportunities for those mining companies that are based in the United States. They'll be eligible for certain funding for certain projects. It reduces the permit time on existing and potentially future projects. So the criticality of silver is very important. It is a metal of the future. It is a metal of the past, but its future is just is mind blowing. Everything that silver is consumed in. I mean, medicine, the clean energy components, automobiles, and not just the electric vehicles, trucking, aerospace, construction. We try to talk about all these through our social media posts, and I'll give your audience, information on where they can find us at the end. But nonetheless, it's had a great year. It's had a great couple of years actually, and I don't see an end to that anytime soon.
I agree. I mean, just given the industrial demand being the biggest driver,
Mhm.
the solar industry is not going away. Electric vehicles
Uh,
are going to continue. So, um, the mining companies are now expanding their margins as a result of it with the rising price of silver. What do you think the actual average cost? And I mean, obviously it depends per mine and per country, but we talked about the actual cost, or you mentioned the mining price or cost to mine. Do you have an average? Is it like 25, $26 all for an
mm,
all-in sustainable?
that's not even close. It's not even close to that. All in sustaining primary silver production cost in 2024 was $14.58.
Wow.
Okay. And we think it's going to be lower this year. We think it's going to be, that's so it's 13% lower than what it was in 2023. And we think it'll be even lower this year. Now, it could rise in certain regions, but when you're looking at primary silver mines, those that produce, 51% silver, that number is lower. When you look at a company like Rio Tinto or BHP Billiton, that have some of the world's largest mines, silver mines, they're not silver mines, they're copper mines, they're
Yeah.
lead mines, they're zinc mines. In some cases, there's a gold component. So silver is a byproduct. Only 31 or 29 or 30% of silver comes to the market each year from what's known as a primary silver mine. So these companies are mining a whole plethora of minerals, and silver just gets caught up in it. But when you take Mexico, for example, the world's largest mining country, they have significant primary silver mines
Yeah.
throughout that country. So and they're going like gangbusters. I think the issue right now is, Vin, there are no significant new development projects in the pipeline. There has not been a major discovery of a silver strike in many, many years. So when we talk about the deficit, as I mentioned earlier, while there may be a small increase in global silver production this year globally, it's not going to significantly impact the deficit. And this will be the fifth consecutive year of a structural market deficit.
Yeah, and you know what? I think you're right in that there doesn't seem to be any major new mine supply come on. And in fact, David Morgan had mentioned the mining in silver in Mexico. They're starting to mine lower grades, so the production has been continually decreasing in
Mhm,
Mexico. So,
mhm.
at some point, something's gonna have to give, whether we're gonna get higher prices, which may spur on more production or expanding production than the existing companies are
Right.
already, which I suspect could happen. For me, I like looking at the mining sector and the mining companies themselves. That's what I focused on. So my sweet spot right now, I think, for investing in the miners, I mean, obviously you want to take a position in the big name companies that are safe and stable. But right now, I think given the rising price of silver and the margins are expanding because of that,
Mhm.
I'm trying to find these small to mid-sized producers for two reasons. A, they could be M&A activity with them and getting taken out by some of the majors, so you get some upside from there. Or companies that are producing, they're in that small to mid-sized production capacity, and they're trying to expand what they're already working on right now.
Right.
So increasing mine supply, whether it's adding extra tonnage, uh, or building a new mill, for example, or something like that. I've seen maybe two companies in Mexico that are kind of in that boat, but that production's
Mhm.
not really going to come on till next year. And even then, I think it's a marginal increase. So, um, that's kind of my thoughts on it. And then obviously, I think as the bull market that we're in right now progresses, at some point you'll get the speculative fever of the juniors and the guys that are looking and
Right.
exploring. And those are those are the 5-10 baggers that you could see happen in a very short period of time when they start pulling out some great drill results.
Well, quite frankly, when you look at companies like Pan American Silver, which started about 20, 25 years ago with one operating mine, and now they're one of the world's largest silver mining companies. When you look at companies like Mag Silver or Gatos Silver, which were just acquired, Gatos was acquired by First Majestic, Mag Silver was acquired by Pan American. Um, you're right. I mean, there could be more M&A activity as this year goes through. I mean, right now the big deal was the Pan American Mag Silver operation, and that has officially gone through. So we lost a member. We lost Mag. We lost Gato Silver as well.
Right.
But they were acquired, at least in Mag's case, it was acquired by a current member company. So that's not really going to affect the bottom line of the Silver Institute. But I'm really quite pleased with how these mining stocks are performing. I mean, investors are waking up to the value that they add, uh, not only to their pocketbook, but to society in general.
Well, and I think that's where you're going to get the leverage in investing in the silver market right now. So, the
Mhm.
silver price could rise just based on the demand fundamentals that we talked about. But as these margins continue to rise with the miners, uh, they're very profitable. And, at some point, I think more institutional investors are going to wake up and realize, wow, these guys are making a hell of a lot of money. And maybe it's time to start piling in and diversifying out of your tech FANG stocks and all of that, where now you're starting to see silver and gold miners are creating very, very high margins, literally.
Right. They are. I mean, look at I know you want to talk about the silver price, and we can get into that a little bit now, but the reason, in my opinion, and many banking experts who follow silver and gold, there's a lot of political uncertainty in the world. We have the tariff issue ahead of us. Gold has pretty much been taken out of that, but we need some clarification on the silver side. There's geopolitical issues, there's wars all around the world. We have the Fed projected to cut rates tomorrow, which is always good for precious metals. So there's a lot of optimism for the silver price going forward. And I don't make any speculation on where the price is going. I'll leave that up to those that make those predictions. But I do believe we'll see $50. I just don't know when.
Yeah.
I mean, we are literally in a secular breakout for silver uh, as we speak.
Absolutely. And I like to do technical analysis when I look at either stocks or just anything in general.
Hmm.
And silver at the price it is right now, the last bull market, the price hit $50, very short period of time. I think it was like a day or two, and then it retraced right back down.
Yeah.
But at that $50 mark, my suspicion is we will see that whether it's later this year or early next year. And I am suspecting, in the first quarter of next year, we may touch that price. And really, it's because it's a double top in terms of technical analysis. Markets like to drive to a price that was resistance to see where it plays out there. And at $50, on the last cycle high, that's a kind of a double top to me. And that's where I suspect it's going. Now, where it goes from there, and now if it pulls back and we get a bit of a sell-off in all markets and silver pulls back to the $35 price range is yet to be seen. But I suspect we're going to 50. And then from there, it's tough to say whether we break out and continue higher. And there's a lot of analysts projecting, $70, $100. I'm not really in that camp right now, unless something majorly breaks in the market where you're going to see a systemic drive into the metals. I just think I would even be happy, between a $40 and $50 trading range going forward on silver, high margins for the miners, and build a pretty stable price range.
Well, I really do believe you're going to see 50 before you see 30. And I don't know if you're ever going to see 30 again. I think the bench has been leveled off. We have a floor at about 35, 38. The demand for the metal is so strong. And just looking forward, we think that the opportunity to acquire silver, even at these elevated prices compared to some years ago, is there. You just have to go back to 2011 when Osama bin Laden was killed. He was, or at least the announcement that when President Obama mentioned or came on and broke through the news and broke through the NBA championship and had a special announcement. And that Friday, that was a Sunday night. And the Friday before that, we were about 48, almost 49 and change. And it looked like it was going to hit 50. But when he made the announcement that Osama bin Laden was killed, apparently the risk of terrorism throughout the world was taken off the table and the price retreated. And the last time we saw silver at 50 or close to 50 was, of course, during the Hunt brother run in the early 1980s. So I think we're in a much better position today to reach that level, even better than 2011. And the silver price is performing very well today. It's down a couple of cents on the spot price. Futures price is a little bit higher, but I think tomorrow, if the Fed does cut rates, we'll know around 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think they will, at least 0.25, as most analysts are saying, then that will be a win for the silver price and the stock market simultaneously.
I think so, but you know what? The Fed has it, there's been a lot of talk already, and the speculation is there whether they're driving it. So I kind of question if it's already been baked into the cake, so to speak.
Hmm.
We'll see what happens. I mean, it's gonna all play out tomorrow. So we only got a few more minutes left. So is there any other topic or information you'd like to share just about the silver price? Or
No, I really don't. I mean, I'm a not-for-profit 501c, and we just don't make silver price projections. There's a whole range of people out there that
sure.
talk about the silver price. People ask me that question all the time, and they're somewhat disappointed when I say I'm not going to make a price forecast. But all I would point your readers to would be the analysis from TD Bank, the analysis from Bank of America, and let's just say the analysis from Goldman Sachs. Okay? And they're all pointing to a higher silver price
And I
from
think
where
yeah.
we are today.
Absolutely. And I just think that higher price is the industrial demand that we're seeing. Whether the investor demand continues is tough to say, but
Right.
I can't see industrial demand diminishing. And in fact, if anything, I would suspect the US wanting to be self-sufficient in resources and critical minerals, you may actually start to see more production or in the US come online with silver. So I think that's
Well, I mean, that's what the whole intention is. When you
sure.
place on the critical minerals list, and when there's a Section 232 trade review of any commodity, it's in order to build up domestic supply of that commodity. Okay. Now, I don't know where we're going to find another silver mine in Nevada or Alaska, but when you look at the silver mining in the United States, that number every year is going north. I mean, Hecla is the United States' largest silver producer, followed by Coeur. and they both have great operations in this country. There are some others that are looking at sections of California, some juniors and so forth. So look at in terms of the United States and silver production, that number will continue to rise.
Yeah, I'm glad you actually mentioned Hecla right before their latest quarterly earnings reports and stuff. I mean, maybe about 3 or 4 days before I bought some at 604, and I'm glad I did because I think it's up around $11 last I checked, and it's kind of a long-term hold for me. But uh,
Good, good.
well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. If there's any links that you want to your
Sure.
website or information, we'll put them in the description below. But if there's anything else you want to share, by all means. If not, we'll
No,
wrap.
I just think that, we're living in challenging times, geopolitically, and, silver is a wonderful safe haven asset. It's been that way since the dawn of time, and it will continue to be there. But if your viewers want to follow the Silver Institute, it's silverinstitute.org. On X, we're at Silver Institute, and we even have a dedicated page on LinkedIn, also titled The Silver Institute. So we post a lot of material. We do on average two a week. Interesting little factoids on silver, and why silver is so important, not only to your pocketbook, but to your overall health, and where it is in various industry components.
Perfect. Well, thank you. We'll include some links in the description. And yeah, have a great day. Thank you for coming on.
You bet. Thank you so much.
I look forward to maybe another interview, maybe in the new year.
You got it. I look forward to it.
All
Thank
right,
you.
cheers. Take care. Thank you for watching this interview with Michael DiRienzo from the Silver Institute. He provided a lot of information about the demand fundamentals for silver, the mining supply, the cost to produce, as well as we even discussed some silver miners you might want to consider to invest in. And if you enjoyed this video, we encourage you to check out our other videos with mining experts from the silver and gold space and the resource sector on our channel. And going forward, we're actually going to be migrating a lot of our resource sector content and videos to the Golden Fortunes YouTube channel. It's a channel dedicated to precious metals and the resource sector, and a lot of our current videos are going to get migrated over there, and new videos will be posted on that channel. So I highly encourage you to join and subscribe there. We'll have the link in the description below. And if you're interested in getting a free ebook and guide to investing in the precious metals sector, we suggest you check out the Hard Asset Alliance Guide to Investing in the Metals. We'll have the link in the description below. It's free and we highly suggest you download it. And if you're interested in learning about Mexico and escaping the US, Canada, or Europe, then we have the Financial Liberties in Mexico channel, which was just recently launched, and it's a dedicated channel solely to the Mexican market where we discuss the economy, finance, investing, banking, as well as Mexico in general and why you can seek liberties in Mexico. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow us on our other channels, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.